Hey everybody, Benny P here with Lovely Lakes Fly Fishing and Living for the Outdoors. And on today's video, I'm going to share with you me cutting up my coyote from my crazy hunting weekend in Ohio. Just like most of the time when I step into the woods, I never know what's going to happen, and this hunt was no different. I was able to put 2 arrows in 2 yotes, and the second yote I pinned to the ground and I made a full recovery. Well, that yote was going home with me, so I packed it out on my e-bike, hit the road back home, and met up with my good friend Dave, and he helped me get her skinned down and get it ready for the butchering process. Now that Dave's helped me out and got it skinned down, I quartered that yote up, put it in a little cooler, threw some ice on it, and I'm headed home, and let's go ahead and cut this meat. One of the tricks I'm going to share that I learned years ago by Big Joey, when you have meat with hair on it or with any kind of dirt or anything like that, you want to take your knife, a sharp knife, turn the blade sideways, and you see how that hair comes right off that meat. So work away at that and cover all your meat. And then another thing that I have ready is, this is a rag and it's wet, and I'm just gonna every once in a while take my knife, and I don't know if you can see all the hair just from swiping that knife that way. So take your knife blade, turn it sideways, come across all that meat and get all the little particles and hair and everything off it. Do that before you wipe it down with your white vinegar. Now that the coyote's broken down, quartered down, skinned down, and I have all the meat here on the table, it's ready for me to start the butchering process. I have my white vinegar, my knives are ready. Just did my post on Facebook and Instagram of my coyote kill, and I have some rags ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe all this meat down with white vinegar. White vinegar is edible and it cleans, and what I want to do is clean all this meat off. Got my rag, it's going in the white vinegar right now. And we're going to clean this meat off with some white vinegar. Start rubbing it all down. Alright, it's cleaned up with the vinegar. This right here is some meat I got off around the neck area. These are the back straps. I have these 2 are the front quarters. You can see right here is where my broadhead went through it. And then there's the exit, the entrance and exit, and then I have the back quarters here. So the next step is going to be removing all of this stuff, all this connective tissue and cartilage and silver skin, and you got to remove that all off there. Don't let me skip. I'll take all this meat off the bone, so you just kind of follow the bone structure and cut all this meat off the bone. And then once that's done, you need to flip this around and just fillet it. Fillet all the silver skin off there and get a nice pile of clean meat. Also going to add now, I'm in my house, warm in here. I'm going to throw this meat in bags, put it back in a cooler with ice, and just work one piece at a time. So I'm going to start with the back quarters. Let's throw all this in my cooler with ice again, leave the back quarters out, and start working on those first. Alright, you can see I started stripping this down. I just want to show you, this is the back quarter, the hip being here, here's the bottom part of the leg right there, and you just want to follow all these muscles. Like for example, you see I hold my knife kind of like this, and it's going to follow that bone down. That bone inside there, get to the bottom of that muscle, cut that off, and you see the bone in there. Take your time and just slowly expose that bone. Bring it up towards the top, work your way around, and you can strip most of the meat right off a bone. As far as any of the connective tissue and the fat and things like that, I strip all the meat off the bone first, get everything ready to go, and then I start that process. I'm not going to show you me cutting every piece of meat off this thing, but I think you're getting the point. Big chunks of meat, get those all off there, and then you can come back and you can worry about cutting off all the little connective pieces. Look at that. I'll come back and I'll separate all that then, what I'm going to turn into the burger. Let's take a look. That's pretty good. You can see there's still a little bit of meat on there, but I did a nice job cleaning that off. Like with anything, we get better as we go, and my second go round, there's all the meat in one big chunk. So I put those back quarters deboned back on the ice. I put them in a bag, put them on the ice. And I want to explain before I start these front quarters. Anything you have like this is blood chalk. You have to cut all this away. You want to cut everything out around this. Get rid of this. This is going to make, it's no good for you. It's going to make the meat taste terrible, and it's just something you don't want in your meat. So take into consideration when you're cutting, start cutting that. Get that the heck out of there. I'll actually clean this up a little bit before I get into it and try to get as much of that out of there so it doesn't get all over the meat. You can see I got a lot of the meat removed from the bottom part of this front leg. So this section, there's a bone that runs right through the middle, and it blades this way and it comes this way. So basically it's a flat bone, and right in the middle it comes up like that, like a blade in the middle. So the middle of this has a bone sticking straight up, and it's not big. So what I do is I take my knife, and you want to penetrate into that meat and just right up along it, and you can cut it right out of there. And just follow that straight up. It's the same thing with the deer. I get the feeling this is going to be identical. And you can see that nice chunk of meat that came out of there. And there's the first part. See how it's bladed up here in the middle? And then there's the flat spot. That's like sitting against the animal right like that. That's its leg. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. There's another nice chunk of meat, and you can see how that cleans it up pretty good. Sorry, I don't know if there's much usable meat on this side. We'll go ahead and try to fillet that little bit out of there. Let me give it a quick try. Get down to the end. There it is. I'll be able to get some silver skin off that. That's a little bit of eating there. I'll be able to fillet that on each side with my fillet knife. That's going to go in the meat pile. And then I just have a couple little chunks left here. There we go. That was it. Just take one little piece at a time. Start cleaning it up. And this takes a while. Get all that connective tissue off your meat. A lot of times you can take it and just see that sharp knife. And this takes time. Take your time. You get better as you go. But open that meat up. This is all going to burgers, so I'm not worried about trying to keep big pieces together. But I'm just going to open this up, get my knife down in there, put a little pressure to it, and you can see silver skin coming off there. Open that piece up, get that out of there. You're going to eat this, so it's up to you how clean you want to get it. But people complain about gamey tasting meat, and then this crap, even these little pieces are all through their burger. Well, guess what? You have all that in your burger, it's going to taste gamey. You clean that stuff out, and you get nice quality chunks of meat like this, your burger is going to taste excellent. We got our pile silver skin and connective tissue, a little bit of meat in there, but pretty darn good. And then look at this nice clean pile, and that's what I'm just going to continue to do. See, I'm holding that silver skin down with my finger, and this is like a piece of calf muscle here, and just working it around. Keeping pressure on this knife, and I'll work every bit of that off there. Alright, the front and back quarters are done. Next I'm going to take the back straps, and just like the other pieces, just start cleaning all the silver skin off it. There's a real nice piece. Start chunking that up, put it in the grinder. I'll continue to clean this up. That's all that's left right there. Alright, there's a nice pile of meat. The next step is going to be grinding this meat all up. Very clean, cut away the connective tissue and the fat, and it's ready for the grinder. Well, we have the pile of meat here all cleaned up. The next step is going to be shooting it through the grinder. At this point, if you wanted to keep some of this for stewed meat, you could cut these pieces down a little bit smaller, and that could be stew meat. But I'm going to go ahead and grind all of my meat, and then if I want to put any meat into a stew, I'll just put the burger in there. Go ahead and I'm going to grind this meat up one more time. Alright, that's the second round for grinding it, and that meat is ready to go into little bags. I'll go ahead and put this into little bags, portions that I'm going to eat, and this meat won't last long. You can see, I'll move this out of the way, that's some beautiful looking meat. Nice, lean. It's a light, more of like a pinkish colored meat. It's not really red. I have some bags ready to go, labeled with the date. I'll go ahead and crack all my bags open. I'm going to try to fit this in 5 of them. I'll take that meat and I'll work it down towards the bottom of that bag. I'm not vacuum sealing this meat because I know I will not have this meat long. This is going to be gone fast. People are going to be curious. I'm going to tell them how good it tastes, and they're going to want to try it. And I'll be happy to share it. Let other people try this. So this is what I'll do. I'll pinch as much air as I can out of these bags. Spread that meat out. Get it up towards the top. Square it off the best I can. Get all that air out, and I'll do each bag like that. Well, there it is. That's the coyote meat ready to go into the freezer. I'm going to freeze this at least a few weeks, and then I'll start pulling this meat out and using it up. And I'm going to make some videos when I cook this meat up, and I'm going to let you know exactly how this stuff tastes. And I'm sure it's going to taste just like coyote. I'd like to thank everybody for following along. Be sure to also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Hit that like button. Check back pretty soon for a video of me cooking and eating this coyote meat. And until next time, best of luck in the outdoors.